Good expert analysis now. Jordan Belfort calls Bitcoin a fraud, the real-life wolf of Wall Street.
When people actually put real money into this, they make no interest, they can't pay their taxes with it, the regulators don't like it, which is always a problem for compliance. And where's the long-term value? Just this idea that they're going to cut the number of units in half, that's such a scam.
I could care less what Bitcoin trades for, how it trades, why it trades, who trades it. If you're stupid enough to buy it, you'll pay the price for it one day.
Testing. Bitcoin's good, fiat's bad. Or is it? What is so special about Bitcoin?
That this technology was going to be the most important innovation since the internet the first time around, and as such was likely to be the most significant investment opportunity of a generation.
Why is it the most superior form of money? Why can it fix so many shortfalls of the current financial system we have? And why do banks fear it? Or do they? Or so we are told.
Melissa, it's the Bank of Central Bankers slamming Bitcoin in a 24-page report questioning the validity of cryptocurrency.
Let me hit you with the red CJ pill. Let's explore how the financial system we currently have works and then move on to Bitcoin. First of all, monopoly over minting money is privately owned, not government controlled. The production of money is exclusive to private banks.
What is the proper relationship? What should be the proper relationship between a chairman of the Fed and a president of the United States?
Well, first of all, the Federal Reserve is an independent agency, and that means basically that there is no other agency of government which can overrule actions that we take. So long as that is in place and there is no evidence that the administration or the Congress or anybody else is requesting that we do things other than what we think is the appropriate thing, then what the relationships are don't frankly matter. And I've had very good relationships with presidents.
Say the US government needs $10. They ask the Federal Reserve, which is not federal, to magically create $10 out of thin air and lend it to them. The US government then has to pay back those $10 plus interest. An impossibility, as it can never pay back more than it has, and the exclusive rights to print money belongs to the Fed anyway. Hence we have an ever-growing national debt that can never be paid back. Furthermore, banks operate on a basis of something called fractional reserve banking. For every physical dollar it has in a vault, it can lend out another 9 that it creates out of thin air. Magic. And charge interest on that too. Wow. Legal fraud? Hell yeah. The Federal Reserve is privately owned by Thomas D. Schove. The Federal Reserve is a private company. Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution states that Congress shall have the power to coin, create money, and regulate the value thereof. Today, however, the Fed, which is a privately owned company, controls the profits by printing money through the Treasury and regulating its value. The Fed began with approximately 300 people or banks that became owners, stockholders, purchasing stock at $100 per share. The stock is not publicly traded in the Federal Reserve banking system. They make up an international banking cartel of wealth beyond comparison. The Fed banking system collects billions of dollars in interest annually and distributes the profit to its shareholders. The Congress illegally gave the Fed the right to print money at no interest to the Fed. The Fed creates money from nothing and loans it back to us through banks and charges interest on our currency. The Fed also buys government debt with money printed on a printing press and charges US taxpayers interest. Many congressmen and presidents say this is fraud. Please be advised, it's not just the Americans that are under the system, it's pretty much everyone. Who actually owns the Federal Reserve central banks? The ownership of the 12 central banks, a very well-kept secret, has been revealed. So we have the Rothschild Bank of London, Warburg Bank of Hamburg, Rothschild's Bank of Berlin, Lehman Brothers of New York, Lazard Brothers of Paris, Kuhn Loeb Bank of New York, Israel Moses Safe Bank of Italy, Goldman Sachs of New York, Warburg Bank of Amsterdam, Chase Manhattan Bank of New York. Furthermore, they have a light set of books and a shadow set of books. The name says it all. You know, to launder drug cartel money, stuff like that. You think it's far-fetched?
It is a case that has everything except an arrest. And that struck some as odd because in an 80-page document of court papers, the bank admits to almost going out of its way to act as a financial clearinghouse for international pariahs and drug dealers. HSBC officials listed Mexico in its lowest risk category for money laundering during a 4-year period when Mexican drug cartels were funneling over $700 billion through the bank. U.S. Attorney Loretta Lynch.
Motherfuckers, the game is rigged. What I have told you so far is the fucking pinnacle of the iceberg. This would not be CJTV if we didn't dive deeper. Let's go down the rabbit hole, shall we? Let's examine the words we use every day. What do they mean? What is a bank? Why is it called a bank? There are two laws on earth, the law of land and law of water. You can look up Jordan Maxwell for a more in-depth description, and Maritime Admiralty Law or Uniform Commercial Code. Law of land applies to the human farm you live in. For example, you can smoke weed in Amsterdam and it's illegal in the UK. So for every country, it has its own set of laws that apply to the farm territory. And there is law of water, so that all the farms can conduct business with the same set of rules. Law of water is identical everywhere, more formally known as Uniform Commercial Code or UCC. If money exchanges hands, law of water applies. CJ, how does this help us? Well, now that we know this, let's examine the language we use related to money. Prepare to have your mind blown. Cash flow, liquid assets, in need of liquidity, liquidation, current account, currency, friendship, relationship, kingship, partnership, river, banks that direct the flow of currency. You came out of your mother's water. She was giving birth.
When a ship pulls into port, it pulls in and stops, and it's called in its berth. The ship is now in its berth. Because it is on the law of the high seas, or commercial maritime, UCC commercial law, rules the seas. So when the ship pulls into its berth, the first thing the captain must do is to present a certificate of manifest to the port authorities, which means that the port authorities need to know how much is on this ship that you're bringing into our country and our economy. How many TVs, how many cars, whatever you're bringing, how much are you bringing into our economy? So you have to have a certificate of manifest of what is the value of your ship here. What are you doing? Consequently, when you are born, you come out of your mother's water. Therefore, you must have a birth certificate, a certificate of manifest, because you are a corporation-owned item. You are a human resource.
You are a product. You are held as a surety, a tax slave that pays off the never-ending interest and debt. Quantitative easing, recession, Great Depression, fiscal cliff measures, all fancy words. However, when you use a bit of common sense and break it down to the core, he who controls money controls everything. If you can issue money, contract supply, expand supply, raise interest, lower interest, charge interest, launder money, hide money, and more, you are the supreme god on earth. Let us control the money of a country, and we cannot who makes its laws. The maxim of the House of Rothschilds, as described in an official US government report, February 1914. The Federal Reserve, privately owned US central bank, definitely caused the Great Depression by contracting the amount of currency in circulation by 1/3 from 1929 to 1933. Milton Friedman. Please let it be said that I have barely scratched the surface here. If you wish to go looking deeper into this, look up Jordan Maxwell and high frequency radio, and the keyword is strawman on YouTube. So a little recap. Monopoly of minting money is granted to a few private greedy hands who manipulate everything and anything related to money and use us as cash cows since our births. So what's so good about Bitcoin? To name a few: transparency, traceability, and one set of books. No risk of inflation, certainty in the future of money, reduced transaction fees, instant settlement, no third parties, decentralization. Woo! It's cold in this motherfucker. The Bitcoin protocol cannot be manipulated by any one person, organization, or government. oh no, wait, we have an imposter Bitcoin with SegWit that has been infiltrated by the same banking cartel. Here is a helpful infographic to put the point across. We can see what has happened in a visual form, and I will accompany this with an explanation. Protocols drive economic value and determine technical superiority between different blockchains. Ticker symbols are meaningless in determining economic value and technical superiority, but help identify the original Bitcoin, as in Bitcoin SV, on exchanges. So when it comes to the ticker symbol, as in the name, as you can see, Bitcoin was first forked into BTC SegWit over here, and they hijacked the Bitcoin name. However, the technology is not the same, as they have added SegWit and removed certain opcodes. Then at some point, while BCH maintained and was loyal to the original Bitcoin protocol, they decided that they were going to add a few things of their own. At that point, they forked off, whereas BSV kept the original design, that the original Bitcoin protocol when it first saw the light of day. Right now, unfortunately, the original Bitcoin is known as BSV because the Bitcoin name has been hijacked by a fork. Whereas over here, we see when it comes to the actual protocol, BSV kept the original protocol that was first initiated. When first Bitcoin was birthed into this world, the original protocol now lives in BSV. Whereas Bitcoin SegWit and BCH, Bitcoin Cash, have forked off. Their protocol, their technology is not the same as Bitcoin when it was first introduced. Watch my video called "There Are No Forks in Bitcoin" to be enlightened. Bitcoin takes the power out of money. The original Bitcoin, that is, takes power away from money and greedy hands. With the original Bitcoin, there is more utility than just transacting in money. You know, when someone gives you a website, you just access the internet. You don't ask if it's a Neo internet, EOS internet, Ethereum internet. It's that internet. Same goes for blockchain. At some point in the future, my humble opinion, people will be accessing one universal blockchain, not 50 different versions. Immutable info etched into the blockchain for eternity. The original Bitcoin protocol with huge blocks allows immutable storage to be recorded in the blockchain. Every corporation is obliged by law and in its own interest to keep records. Using blockchain is safer and more efficient. It's a win-win situation for businesses and adds utility to Bitcoin. Big blocks win.
Full fucking stop.
The original Bitcoin protocol allows micropayments. A payment can be divided into 1,333 fragments. This in turn allows business models that were not possible before. That's why I call cutting edge tech. If governments take your taxes, you will see where your money went. They will be held accountable. They will not be able to cook books, keep separate books, launder money, etc. The flow of money will be visible to everybody. Visibility discourages crime and fraud. Bitcoin can be used by the unbanked by simply downloading a phone wallet. Try Handcash. The application of this technology is in its infancy. It takes about 50 years or so to catch on. But with crypto, it's a lot faster. In my humble opinion, two factors have set back its progress and mass adoption. Number one, Silk Road gave it a real bad reputation and people started avoiding it. And Blockstream, the company that works on the development of Bitcoin SegWit, has done everything in its power to sabotage this tech and bring it down to a fraction of its capability. Why? Why? Because they are sponsored and owned by the same people that own the Fed. Check out my previous vid. The real Bitcoin now lives in BSV. So is Bitcoin an answer to all those problems? No, only partially, unfortunately. Imagine Bitcoin is now a global currency and you wish to transact. You can only do so in Bitcoin and no other method whatsoever. What could go wrong? Well, let's see. You will become dependent on a system that can be and will be used to get control of you. If you have no choice but to be hooked to a digital system, you might as well be part machine. You are now at the mercy of the same tech that was supposed to free you. The irony: you criticize the government, your wallet gets blacklisted. You may have limits as to how much BTC you are allowed to own. If you wish to get a BTC wallet, you must sign up as an organ donor. I'm really pushing it there, but why not? You want a BTC wallet, you must meet other criteria. KYC AML as a standard. But Bitcoin is immutable, unconfiscatable, decentralized, blah, 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 blah. I find this argument so amusing because Bitcoin was forked into a SegWit version and a BCH version. It had its opcodes removed and left as a poor shadow of its prior existence, with its capabilities destroyed, with a leeching company in control of its future. Blockstream. The Federal Reserve and its buddies have made sure of that. However, just a majority of populace refuses to believe that Federal Reserve is a privately owned entity, even though undeniable facts are easily to be found. Same goes for BTC SegWit. No matter how much evidence you present, people still deny it. There's a lovely English saying: you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. I believe that BSV, the original protocol, should remain as it was etched in stone during its initial release. Any forks or alterations are scams and there to destroy Bitcoin. And if somehow we can figure out a paper or physical equivalent of Satoshis, it would be great, so that we aren't limited to one option of being digitally hooked up to the blockchain. But we would have an alternative choice to transact in physical cash backed by Bitcoin. But this is a subject for another video, because right now money is not backed by gold. Ever since 1933, I think it was. It's backed by your labor, because you're a slave.
Numbers are a security stock exchange number on the World Stock Exchange. You go to any good stock office and ask them, check these numbers in your computer and see how much your stock is worth, the certificate. And they will check it on the New York Stock Exchange and find your birth certificate is a stock on the stock exchange in America.
I appreciate any productive comments. Please do add value. Thank you very much. Bitcoin. Why is there a more superior form of fuck? Fuck, they didn't. I fucking did, son. This shit. Deep shit, motherfuckers. Deep shit. I need to ease off them sweets, man. This shit takes fucking hard work, man. What the fuck? You lot think this shit's easy, man. It takes fucking motherfucker here working for free, you know.